All right. Hi, everyone. This is Mr. P coming to you while social distancing. Oh gosh, I can't even tell you how many times I've recorded this first video. Uh, First time I recorded it, uh, the the screen did not record at all. I realized why later. Second, and then I recorded a couple times. I did not like what I said. And then the final time I recorded it, the sound was all choppy and my P's were popping. And I think that was because I used the webcam so that you could see me. So that didn't work because then the sound is not as good. So you're not going to be able to see me. But we'll move forward anyway. So this is the first in a series of videos on Black art and resistance during the Jim Crow era. This first video will be shorter and is just going to give us an overview. So I'll give you that overview in a moment. But let me first just say that this is a really weird and difficult time during this pandemic. I hope that you all are taking care of yourselves, that you are well rested, that you are sleeping a lot. That you're all healthy and safe. And I don't know if I've said this clearly so far, but let me just say it now. What I'm assigning you and our schoolwork is not a top priority. None of your schoolwork is right now. Your top priority is to take care of yourselves, to make sure that you and your families are safe and healthy, and to care for your mental and emotional health during this time. So don't. While I'm going to continue to, I'll release these videos and we're continuing to kind of move forward with our study of Black history. Please recognize that, some of you are, caring. I know that some of you are caring for family, checking in with folks, visiting family, that kind of thing. And so I recognize that, we're not going to be meeting deadlines and things like that, and that's okay. I hope that during this you're practicing mindfulness, you're figuring out what you need to make sure that you're feeling good and feeling healthy. For me, I've been thinking about the need to kind of maintain contact with people, even though we're not allowed to kind of see people and hug people during this time. So I've been, kind of making sure I schedule FaceTime with people, with friends, as a way to kind of like see one another and check in with one another. I hope that you're figuring out ways to safely connect with your friends, and not, without kind of putting, one another at risk during the pandemic. So I hope that you're doing that. I think it can also be really useful to have a sense of routine. I realized yesterday I was feeling really crappy, and that's probably because my routine was totally blown off. I spent a good chunk of time kind of redesigning or putting together all of these slides, and I ended up skipping cooking and lunch, and I never got out of my PJs. I don't recommend that. I have fixed myself for today, so I dressed as if I was going to go teach. I have plans for what I'm cooking today. So I hope that you can find a routine. If you haven't yet, like I hadn't yet, that's okay. But routine can be really useful for our mental and emotional health. So I hope that you can find that routine, whether it's, this is the time that I'm going to be, working on schoolwork. This is the time that I'm going to be, checking in with friends, that kind of thing. I think it can be really useful to not necessarily be in our PJs all day, although that's really nice, but 2 weeks of it can feel a little bit, it can feel draining. And so just try and check in with yourself. Is what you're doing feeling good and feeling like it's giving you energy? If not, then try and figure out if, is this a day I need to kind of dress as if I'm going out even though I'm not going out, or is this a day I can just kind of chill in my PJs? Maybe set aside the weekends for that. And it's going to be different for all of us. So really what I'm just saying is just have that, check in with yourself on that, engage with that mindful attention to, to you and how you are during this time. And even as we're social distancing and isolating, please maintain contact with one another and with friends and family, even if it's just, virtually and in a safe kind of online virtual way. All right, enough of that. That's me just trying to say, take care of yourselves, and I care more for your mental and emotional health than I do for you getting my schoolwork done. Nevertheless, I think it can, hopefully my schoolwork can help you get a sense of routine during the next couple weeks, and I want it to be something that is enriching and helping you continue your learning process. And so here we go. This series of videos is going to provide historical context for this topic, Black art and resistance during the Jim Crow era. So we're going to end with the Harlem Renaissance. And there's a long backstory to how we get there. The long backstory, we've been telling that entire story, right? We've been telling that story the entire year. However, I'm going to tell a very specific era, right, from the 1890s to the 1930s. The Harlem Renaissance emerges during the 20s and 30s, and it takes its name from the, Harlem in New York, which was in 1910 was a neighborhood that was 90% white and 10% black. In 1930, it was 70% black and 30% white. So what happened, right? How did that transition take place? During that time period from 1910 to 1930, Philadelphia's black population grew by 500%. What is going on that is creating that type of situation? So prior to the Harlem Renaissance, we had what I'm going to kind of go from the last video to tell you that backstory right now. We end up with what the historians call the Great Migration. So 6 million Black people move from the South to northern cities. That migration was, tremendous. And it is important to understand the causes of it, because it was not purely folks want to move to the north because, new jobs in factories and whatnot during World War I. That's part of it. But it's also a story of people fleeing terror, fleeing violence, fleeing mass lynchings, individual lynchings. And so the story that we have to tell at the beginning of this series of videos is a story of white terror, white violence, and Black resistance. We can't understand the emergence of the Harlem Renaissance and the art during that period without understanding, racialized violence, oppression, and resistance at the time. So the first few videos, I think, are heavy in content. They are difficult videos. Pace yourselves. Take care of yourselves. Okay. So a few things about these videos. Like I said, none of the videos are longer than 15 minutes. I'm going to try and do it where each video kind of takes a specific chunk or topic within this broader scope. And the slides will be posted separate from the videos. Some of the videos have a blue, show you here. Some of the videos have a blue box in the corners, and that sometimes is just so you can see that here. You can click on these links. You'll have to pause the video, go to the slides on Classroom, and click those links. Some of the time it's voluntary, like you can learn more if you want. Some of the time I'm going to ask you to watch a particular video, open it up. It might be a couple-minute video that provides you more information or tells a particular story. So please, be interactive with it in that way. We're not in class, but we're gonna, I'm gonna try and maintain the approach I take in class. Okay. The other thing is, eventually, once we're back, all this content you will be accountable for, on your final, that sort of thing. So I encourage you to take notes for the videos. Include those notes on the videos in that I assign you in your notebook for, future notebook checks. Like I said, it's something that will, once we're back and settled, we'll figure out. So use this time to kind of, keep up with all of it. So I hope that you are going to, learn a lot from this. I've designed it so that the videos cover some of the historical context, and then the assignment at the end is going to be fun, creative, interesting, engaging. Many of you wrote about how much you enjoyed the mixtape, Harriet Jacobs mixtape project. So I've designed the assignment at the end of these videos to be something that gets your creative interests flowing. So you will choose a Harlem Renaissance artist, visual artist, painter, sculptor, musician, singer, poet, someone of the Harlem Renaissance, choose a piece of theirs and react to it with a creative piece of your own. Not necessarily in the same medium, right? You might choose a poem and then illustrate it with a graphic novel or a painting or something like that. You might choose a dance, Frankie Manning's The Lindy Hop, Josephine Baker's dancing, and write a poem in response. You can mix mediums in that way for the assignment. I'll go into more detail on the assignment in the last video, and I'll be posting an assignment post for that. But I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up that that's where we're going. I want you, I want this at the end of this journey of these videos, just like the Harlem Renaissance is a kind of eruption of creative energy. I want you to be able to engage with it in that way. It's also important to remember that the Harlem Renaissance is political. It's not a pure art separate from politics thing. We're going to look at how the art also is a way of reacting to and engaging with and challenging the white supremacy of the time. Art is political in this sense. Okay. So with that, let me just show you the questions we're going to be asking during this series of videos. So we're going to look at 4 major questions. The first is how violence was used as a tool for social, political, and economic oppression. We're going to ask, I'm just putting it bigger for you, how Black communities resisted their oppression. So, right, the big themes of the class, right? Systems of control and oppression, and then forms of resistance. Those 2 questions map onto the 2 big themes. Third theme of the class is cultures of expression. So looking at the causes of Harlem Renaissance and the ways Black folks created art to interpret and understand their reality and to fight oppression, that fits under, that cultures of expression theme, right? There's those 3 big themes that I organize my entire course around. So those are the questions we'll be exploring. Next video is going to cover, it's going to be an overview of some things we've already learned and some new things about the Jim Crow era, just to make sure we're all on the same foundation before we launch into a bunch of new things. Like I said, next video, some of it is a reminder of what we've already learned about at the end of Reconstruction, but there'll be some new content as well. I look forward to sharing the second video with you.